I did not grow up with Eva. I have no nostalgic attachment to the series, yet it has had a profound impact on my life and self-image. Evangelion finds you when you need it and connects to those struggling with loneliness and self-hatred. It is a unique, once-in-a-lifetime experience and a piece of anime history. Eva is so prominent in the industry that I had preconceived notions before my initial viewing. These are what had kept me away for so many years. I had heard the series praised for its deep lore and gritty take on the human experience, while others condemned Eva for its convoluted plot and superfluous nature. But for me, it wasn't any of those things. It's not about the lore or mystery, nor is it as ruthless as many had described. It is about compassion and forgiveness. It is about love and hope. It's about self-discovery and adjusting your perception of life. Eva allowed me to look inward and reevaluate my self-worth. And this was all due to one character, Shinji. He is easily the most divisive character in the entire series. Before watching Eva, I had heard so much criticism towards him, stating how weak, whiny, and annoying he was. I expected to hate him, but instead I related to him. Shinji is the perfect main character for Eva. So many people don't want to see themselves in him. They don't want to face or admit their flaws, their genuine weaknesses and insecurities. But Eva is preaching, begging you to do so, and all for your own sake. The sincere amount of tenderness and affirmation displayed is magnificent. Anno wants to forgive and comfort his past self, as well as anyone currently struggling with these issues. Shinji's journey of self-acceptance is a paved path for the viewer to follow, and the first step towards improvement is taking an unbiased and fair look at yourself. To drop your AT field, break your barrier, and truly look inward. No longer denying your shortcomings, accepting that you are afraid, that you are weak, and that you're not happy. Only after admitting these faults can you begin to change. How can you fix something that you don't perceive as broken? Shinji is constantly forced to face situations that tear him apart. He runs away when things become difficult. His actions are dictated by others rather than his own agency. This is what makes him such a controversial character, but this is where I found solace and motivation. I admitted to myself that I have been and still am Shinji to a certain degree. This honest reflection shocked me into a state of contemplation. And this is exactly what happens to Shinji during the Hedgehog's Dilemma. After running away, afraid of the adversities he is undergoing, he is eventually brought back to Misato. This is where he is first challenged, where the cracks in his worldview begin to show. She shocks him into the realization that dictating your actions solely based on others' preferences is not valiant, it's weak. Putting yourself through misery to attain the hollow praise and approval of others. It's unsustainable and will keep you in a constant state of playing the victim and being unhappy, feeling like you have no control over your life, living in pity that was self-inflicted, especially when those you are trying to protect never ask for your assistance. This is such an easy trap to fall into. We rationalize our dissatisfaction with the belief we are being responsible, that it is strong and valiant to do so, yet we aren't happy. We are not fulfilled. Your efforts are fruitless and futile if you cannot attain this happiness for yourself as well. This message once again leads back to self-acceptance and love. Anno wants you to be kinder to yourself, to not disregard your own well-being, to take care of your feelings and value your existence. This compassion and warmth echoes throughout Eva until the very end. The finale of the TV series, while extremely controversial, excels in this regard. It matched Eva's core themes and values. It forces its characters to face their insecurities, their inner demons, and internal monologues of self-judgment. But it was still hopeful. It provided an alternative version of the world, a literal different outlook on life, with Shinji, Asuka, and Rei all living happily, able to be kids, not worrying or constantly hindering themselves. Although abrupt, this final scene, full of congratulatory dialogue, ends on such a high note. Shinji has finally begun to forgive himself. He has discovered his self-worth and created his own reason for living. And that's all he needs. Symbolized with the abrupt conclusion to the series. It is so short and sweet because the actual realization is so simple. It is difficult to get to that point, but once you forgive yourself, once you make it that far, everything will seem that much easier. Now there are different endings to Eva, one of which being the end of Evangelion. The end of Eva movie was antithetical to the TV series. It is extremely harsh and pessimistic. It dials in on self-doubt and hatred. It basks in the brutality of life. This was the exact opposite of episode 25 and 26. The counterpoint to the original ending. This negative tone to the finale didn't strike me as quite right. Some could say it is more realistic, that everything doesn't always work out. This is true, however, this ending didn't impact me as much as the original. I took away so much hope from those final 2 episodes, where all I took away from the end of Eva was that Anna wanted to create a foil to the original. A bitter take on realism, drenched in blood, regret, and mistakes. However, this ending felt forced to try and be so negative. It was deliberately obscure, packing in as much religious imagery, ambiguous resolutions, and death as humanly possible. Ironically, this more shocking and harsh nature, aiming to elicit a response from the viewer, caused me to be less invested. It felt convoluted and purposely perplexing, with a major focus on the lore, which is difficult to pull off in a movie's time frame. But there was a scene from the end of Eva that did everything perfectly, and that was Asuka versus the mass-produced Evas. The artwork was captivating and left me speechless. The angelic, almost holy look to the Evas as they circled Asuka, with crystal rays of light piercing through the sky. Sadly, with this many Evas surrounding her, you know this will be Unit 2's final stand. Even if you dislike Asuka, this is a strong moment for her. She never cowers and never gives up. She follows through with her fighting. She sticks to her morals and values, never giving in to despair. It is both brave and heartbreaking. She is trying to defend everyone, trying to protect the world from the onslaught of these mass-produced Evas. And what's amazing is that she almost destroys so many. She tears into them, illustrating her prowess as an Eva pilot. In this moment, no longer hindered by self-hatred, she focuses on achieving her goal of neutralizing the threat to mankind. But to follow suit with the darker and more cynical nature of the end of Eva, all her progress was for naught. She was unable to crush the cores, and the unmanned Evas began to regenerate, only to soon snuff out Asuka's flame with the flurry of falling spears. The pure brutality of this fight is potent. It is so impactful, not only to the viewer, but the anime community as a whole. It displays the ripple effect Eva has caused and the monumental inspiration it led to. You can look at one of the most popular shonen series and traces of Eva pulse through its veins. Pilots of humanoid monsters, controlling the creatures through the nape of their necks, used as war machines by rival nations, deployed as aerial bombardments, falling to ferociously fight each other. There are countless similarities between Eva and Attack on Titan, and undoubtedly many other anime inspired by Anna's work. Just as numerous series influence his creation, many more have sprouted from the tree that is Evangelion. Anime is cyclical in nature. The teachings and themes bleed from one generation to the next. It is beautiful, especially when the lessons are about love and self-acceptance. But the end of Eva is not the only part of Evangelion with powerful moments. There are many notorious moments from the series, and in my eyes, the elevator scene stands second to none. Whether this scene was simply to pad runtime or was crafted out of artistic passion, it doesn't matter. Holding one frame for such a long duration, teetering on the edge of irritation, creates a feeling of uneasiness and stress. It amplifies the awkward feelings between Rei and Asuka. Inside this steel prison, with the person she despises most, Asuka's rage intensifies. Rei representing everything Asuka despises, seeing her as a doll, overflowing with compliance. As the elevator slowly rises, creeping from one floor to the next, her feelings fester, ending with an eruption of anger once Rei breaks the silence. In this moment, Asuka is already vulnerable, due to having issues syncing with her Eva. She ties her entire self-worth to being an Eva pilot, yet she can no longer pilot her Eva. She is devastated, she is broken, she is unshielded. Her entire world has shattered around her. And of all people to give her advice, all people to unknowingly challenge her self-worth, it has to come from the person she despises most. It is such beautiful misfortune. Asuka has crafted her personality to be the exact opposite of a doll, the exact opposite of how she views Rei, spurred on from the trauma her mother handed to her. She fights so hard to not be passive. This is why her personality is so abrasive and off-putting, why she keeps others at arm's length, and why she so often attacks. She's afraid. This is why she treats Shinji with such contempt. She sees dollish traits in him as well, and anyone that doesn't follow her rigid worldviews is worthless to her. This is why she tries to be team leader and constantly goes on the offensive. She's so afraid of being a doll. She's so afraid of being helpless, scared of being alone, just as her mother had abandoned her. Ironically, she is leading herself down the exact path that she is desperately trying to avoid. The immeasurable amount of emotions that Eva covers is astounding. It is able to take an unfiltered, unbiased, and impartial look at its characters. This transparency encourages the viewer to do the same, beginning to admit their issues, leading to internalization, progression, and change. Yet Eva still holds you, not allowing you to descend into despair. And it does so with one simple statement. What I am now isn't everything I will always be. This second of dialogue impacted me more than Adam. It seems so obvious, yet we always forget. We have a future. The issues we currently have won't last forever. If we are honest about our flaws and continue to focus on improving ourselves, change is inevitable. This is why the ending of the TV series holds such a special place in my heart. When Shinji begins to accept himself, we are treated to an alternate world, with the many characters of Eva all living happily. There are no angels, there is no war. The conflict has melted away. Shinji is able to be a kid, no longer sabotaging himself. He is able to enjoy life, appreciating his friends and existence, almost as if he has woken up from a bad dream, signified perfectly with the pen alarm clock next to him. That other existence wasn't real, it wasn't him, or rather, it doesn't have to be. The past Shinji isn't the Shinji he will always be. If he can become kinder to himself, he can live in this reality. The truth of your world is dictated by your heart. A slight shift in your perception can change everything. We hate ourselves, so we assume others feel the same. But if we can let this go, if we can value ourselves, we can truly be happy. And when you eventually make it there, I hope you congratulate yourself, because you faced the parts of Evangelion where you saw yourself.